Hi, and welcome to Cover Brand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome and welcome back to Cover Brand. I'm your host, Ethan Decker. I guess I should maybe sometimes say founder and president of Applied Brand Science, but maybe not. And today we are covering On Brand with Jimmy Fallon with my amazing guest and co-host of this today. It's outstanding in marketing and demand gen leader, innovative brand builder, and one of the people of all time, Laura Dodds. Hi, Laura.
You're too kind. Thank you, Ethan. I'm so happy to be here.
You are so very. I am so happy you're here as well. Let's get down to business, episode 3 of On Brand with Jimmy Fallon.
Yes, I'm excited. Our client this week is Marshalls. The what was it? Off-price
discount
clothing and home goods retailer.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a pretty crowded market with TJ Maxx, which is owned by the same company.
Indeed.
TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls, Burlington, they all kind of exist in that same space.
You know, here's a question. Why did they drop the apostrophe?
Oh, see, I didn't even notice that.
There's no apostrophe. There should be, because isn't it based on the founder's name? Like Marshalls, come down to Marshalls store.
Okay.
And now it's plural, or it's just a word, Marshalls.
Maybe it's like a parade marshal, but a lot of them are leading the charge.
Maybe. You know what else is messed up punctuation-wise is when, it's not even punctuation. I don't even know what to call this. If you own a restaurant and it's a person's name usually, and it ends with a vowel, people instinctually add the S. So if there's a restaurant in Boulder called Santo, everybody calls it Santos. Or there's one in New Mexico called Scalo. Everyone calls it Scalos. Let's go to Scalos. It's this weird instinct that people want to add that S, but they don't know how to add the apostrophe, apparently.
Again, I'm in the South, so lots of things get S's. We've got the Kroger's.
Mm-hmm.
We're going down to Kroger's.
Yeah, there you go.
Gosh, I'm sure there's a dozen other examples, but that's pretty common down here, adding the S. So
that's an interesting little window into how our brains work that I think would be interesting to talk about some other time, not now, because we have to get back to episode 3. Marshalls.
Pay attention.
Yes. Focus. Marshalls. Let's talk about the client and the brief.
Yeah, absolutely. So the brand ambassador was Emily Trent, their head of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been at Marshalls for quite some time. She started there in 2003 as their marketing manager, and has progressed through the ranks to be the SVP of marketing. She had a really long and impressive tenure there, which is not common in the marketing world, especially. So I think that's really...
Yeah, the average tenure for CMOs is like 2 years, but we'll see how long she lasts in this post as essentially the CMO. But you're right, another insider, another long-standing veteran of the brand who hopefully knows it well.
Yeah, that CMO tenure is really interesting to me. Just to get off topic yet again. And I believe I saw that it was sometimes related to the inability of CMOs and CEOs to really share that same vision and communicate the value that marketing is driving within the company overall. Yeah. And so when you do see someone who's had such a long-standing tenure at a organization like Marshalls, it's impressive to see that at some point her and the other leadership team have been able to really stay on the same page and have that same vision.
Yes.
And communicate the value.
Yes. Sometimes I like to say a lot of agencies and a lot of people selling into clients don't know how to speak C-suite, but
Mm-hmm.
even CMOs sometimes don't know how to speak C-suite. And we'll get to this in a little bit when it comes to metrics and impacts of the marketing elements they use. What did you think of the brief this time?
So the brief this time was interesting. They gave them the whole brief up front.
Yeah.
So normally they give part of the brief and then we get the second part during the second phase of the competition. But first phase of the competition, come up with a tagline and campaign. We've seen that. And then be able to envision that being executed forward in a brand activation
Yep.
and a live digital billboard.
Yes.
Um,
And the activation would be some kind of pop-up experience in Manhattan.
mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, those elements were clear. I thought the part that was a little dicey was that they said we want it to be a really premium experience, but we also really want to drive the value that Marshalls
Yes.
delivers. And so I don't know, is it 10 pounds of shit in a 2-pound bucket? We will find out.
Yeah, premium, fashion forward, Marshall's value driven. Now,
Yeah.
one thing they didn't mention, but that we saw in a lot of the pitches is that right now a lot of their campaigns are focused on the phrase good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the good stuff, you deserve the good stuff, whatever that is. And when I was working on my 2 minute to win it pitch, there was no Marshall's phrase that immediately came to mind. You know, Ross, dress for less.
Right.
When you're here, your family, eating
Mm-hmm.
good in the neighborhood. I'm hungry. Who knows? But there wasn't any tagline that I immediately associated with Marshalls. I had to
Yep.
Google it, and a
Yep.
couple came up, and neither of the ones that I saw were related to the good stuff.
Right.
So Marshalls does not, from what I can see, really have that strong tagline or sentence that you'd really connect to the brand ethos. And so
True.
I thought that was interesting.
Someone was asking me about taglines recently, and it made me realize you don't need a tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Most brands think they do. They think it's just one of the things that you check off the checklist along with brand values and corporate mission and vision. But a tagline, I would say, falls under the category of levers and not laws.
Okay.
A lever is something you can pull as a brand, but you don't have to pull as a brand. Sometimes a tagline can be useful. McDonald's has had some pretty good taglines over the years. When FedEx launched, they launched with when it absolutely positively has to be there the very next day. And it was a very funny and clear tagline because you had to say it fast, which is referencing the fact that they're delivering things fast.
Mm-hmm.
But McDonald's right now has "I'm loving it," and I think that's working okay for them. But they use it, and that's a critical piece. Is
Yeah.
it's used and it's expressed. Car companies have taglines all the time, and the only one I can remember is "The Ultimate Driving Machine" for BMW. But the pursuit of joy, finding the next luxury. I don't know. Car companies have shitty taglines, and they cycle them really quickly. So you don't need a tagline, but a
Mm-hmm.
really good tagline can do a lot of work for your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason the no tagline stood out to me in particular was because when I was doing that, I didn't necessarily know what separates Marshalls
Mm-hmm.
from TJ Maxx, from Ross, from Burlington.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I grew up in a Ross family. We always went to Ross.
Okay.
And so that is the store that I continue to shop at
Right.
as an adult when I had my own purchasing power.
Classic behavior.
And so, yeah,
Do
classic.
what you do when you were
Do
young.
what you do. Exactly. I knew what kind of brands were there, what to expect,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So that makes me wonder. I still am not 100% sure what the positioning difference between Marshalls and Ross in particular are.
For sure.
Now, TJ Maxx has the really strong Maxxinista,
Mm-hmm.
which I like. But even that one, I could not tell you until you shared some of the research, which I'd love for you to get into here.
Yep.
I couldn't tell you what the difference is from a brand ethos perspective between the three.
Okay, a little bit more brand science, since this is kind of a show about brand science after all.
No.
There's some really interesting evidence that a lot of brands don't really have that much of a difference, that a lot of brands converge on the same features and benefits. We talked about this briefly in one episode about cars all converging on basically the same features. You have the seats, you have the seat belts, you have the door handles in basically the same places. You have rear view mirrors. We don't think of these anymore as features that may or may not be required, but think about it. Like, those are ultimately features, and all the cars basically have the same stuff. So a lot of brands, in this case, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Ross, Burlington, they do have a lot of the same features and a lot of the same benefits. So how do you then get more customers and get customers to come back more often? It turns out some of it is that you come up with almost arbitrary things to be thought of at all and be remembered at all. So that's some of it. So it doesn't have to be a more insightful and penetrating brand that resonates with people in a new way. Maybe it just has to be more easier to remember at all. Easier to, like, Coca-Cola might not actually be a superior product. It's just easier to remember because you see it everywhere and you think of it all the time. On the other hand, Laura, I would ask, when it comes to going, you said you're a Ross person, you grew up being a Ross family. Was there any element of that related to the fact that Ross might have been closer or easier or open later or on your drive from school or home?
Open later for sure. Ross was open an hour later than any other similar store. And I remember that because one time I needed a homecoming dress in high school. It was the day before I got out of theater rehearsal late. I know theater, it's a surprise.
Shocker.
Who could have seen it going? But I needed I decided last minute I was going, so I needed a dress.
Yeah.
And Ross was still open.
Yeah.
And so I was able to go in and find a beautiful dress that I really enjoyed really quickly as well. Sometimes when you're young, you can like go to lots of different stores or whatever, but Ross was open later and I was a brand loyalist from that moment on because it saved me. Right.
But also it was just the only one that was open. And McDonald's constantly gets dinged for being mediocre burgers, mediocre cleanliness, mediocre atmosphere. And yet they are 3 to 5 times bigger. I don't know. It's massive. Bigger than any other burger chain in the country. And it's because they're available everywhere. And when you quiz people, when you do a consumer survey and you ask them, what makes you choose your burger store? Is it the quality of the burger? Is it the value and the pricing? Is it the cleanliness of the store? If you don't ask them, oh, it's because it's available 24 hours, it's open 24/7, or it's the one that's closest to my house, then you don't realize what's really driving a lot of the traffic is it's the only one open and it's the one closest to my house. So you got to be careful what you ask, or you won't even know what really is making the difference. And in this case, for discount clothing stores, maybe some of the big difference is what's closest to me. How many Burlington stores are there versus how many Marshalls are there? So yeah, there might not be a huge difference in what they actually sell.
And I understand that you have all of the brand science and all of the data to back this up, but what really sets McDonald's apart is their hash browns. They're God tier hash browns. McDonald's, I know you're listening. Please bring back all day hash browns. Please, I'm begging you, McDonald's.
Yeah, they have pretty great hash browns.
They're so good.
Yeah. So Marshall's brief was generally clear. I think it was a little challenging to say, let's make it really premium, but also show our value. So that's a bit of a classic client request. Like, I want it to be flashy, but also subtle, right? I want it to be super premium, but also good value. So that's a little bit of a tightrope to walk. How did the folks do?
Well, one thing, sorry, before we get into that, one last thing I noticed about the Marshalls brand, I went on their website and it really looks like every other website in the space.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I got from that is that Marshalls isn't really a big risk-taking brand.
Sure.
And I think that the most successful campaigns on this were the ones that really understood that Marshalls isn't going to take big risks.
Yeah.
They're not going to be doing the craziest, flashiest thing, because that's just not who they are.
Right.
They play it a little bit safe, and that sounds negative. It's not. That's just part of their brand.
You're right.
So,
which is the brand and the people.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So that means the people making the decisions for the brand, in this case, Emily, probably will pick something that's pretty much down the fairway and a little more traditional and classic to Marshalls. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Good point.
So this time around, they gave us a top 4 of the 4 campaigns that they like. I question that a little bit.
But then they cut it to 2.
Because they cut it to 2. But in the top 4, they threw in Bianca and Ryan, who have been sort of the front runners so far. So part of me is a little bit skeptical that maybe they were put into that group to amp up the drama. Who knows? Right. But
or was it that they just couldn't have more Bianca and Ryan? It would become a boring show.
No, because this was a great week for Team Lauren. I've been saying it all along. Lauren and Mahari were the top 2.
That's true.
That moved on to the building out the activation. Do you want to go over their campaigns?
Yes, Lauren's campaign was, okay, where are my notes here? Lauren's campaign was really centered around one element of the activation, which was these 3D slow-mo GlamBot cameras that you now see on the runway and at step and repeats and at super big galas and events, so that the camera spins around you while you're doing something or spinning as well. And it's slow-mo and it's really cute. And I think her line was spotlight ready, which is fine. But the activation about the GlamBot was super fun and trendy. And it showed that she was at least noticing the technology that's impacting the runway and fashion. And so that was her campaign. Mahari's campaign was really about the closet, that we all have a closet and the closet is what unites us. Let's do a kind of a pop-up of a closet itself and discover your style closet was the line. The lines were not quite as strong as I thought or differentiated, but to your point about the client, they're probably not going to want a super strongly differentiated idea. In fact, Ryan brought probably the most differentiated idea. And yes, it made it to kind of the pseudo finals, but then got shot down. Ryan's idea was Les Charmes, which was Les Charmes, which was a super high-end boutique that then you realized, oh my God, all of these things are available at Marshalls, because Les Charmes is just Marshalls spelled backwards, essentially.
Kind of, yeah.
The word scrambled, which is a tactic other people have done. I don't know if you know this.
I did, yeah.
We can talk about that a little bit later. Well, no, or we can talk about it right now. Let's see, Lidl, which is a discount grocery store in Europe, once made a Michelin-style restaurant called Dill. And for 3 months, they fed people Michelin-level food and then shocked everyone by revealing all the food there was purchased at Lidl. Another one was Payless Shoe Store, which, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, bought an old Armani in Santa Monica, LA, and converted it into a faux retailer called Palessi, which was now coming from Milan and Paris and finally opening up in the United States. And Palessi had all of Payless's shoes, but with no price tags on it. And they invited all of these influencers and fashion people in who said they'd spend $200, $400, and $600 on these shoes. And then it's revealed, shocker, Palessi is actually Payless. And isn't that humbling and embarrassing?
Yes.
Payless had much bigger fish to fry. They were in and out of bankruptcy, and everyone was web rooming, and it was the rise of online retail, major problems. And then VC came in and totally gutted them as well, took all of their earnings away to investors instead of actually reinvesting it in the company. So they had a lot of big issues. Palessi, the stunt, didn't save them, but it was a really cute stunt.
Yes. Yeah. So Palessi, the Payless stunt was the one I was most familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of like a gotcha. Look how stupid these internet influencers are.
Yeah.
And so that could go poorly. But that campaign works best as, a short video.
Yeah.
Versus an active brand activation. When I'm thinking about, the execution of this campaign from pitch to actual execution, that would be really hard to pull off the full story.
Yeah.
Within that brand activation, you really need that follow-up piece of that video.
Yeah.
To really tell the story.
Let's talk a little more brand science when it comes to that kind of investment in an activation like that. 99% of the involvement, the engagement, or just the viewership or visibility of a PR stunt, like they're planning here in New York City, or like Palessi in Santa Monica, is not going to be people actually at the thing. You're right. It's the story and it's the video. So in a sense, and I think this is also why the winner won, what you have to think about is the asset that comes out of the activation, not the engagement at the activation itself. 10 people, 50 people, 100 people will actually be there in New York City checking out this Marshall stunt. And we're going to be really caring about the millions of people who might share it on social media, or local TV shows who might say, by the way, in other news, Marshall's just blah, blah, blah in New York City. That's why you might want to strategize a stunt like this for shareability, not actually for the people on the street in the stunt.
I agree with that. I think Ryan's campaign could have worked, but not within the confines of the brief.
Not within the confines of this client, this more conservative client.
100%. They don't want to make the user feel like an idiot, right? I thought it was high price, like really high fashion, but it was actually Marshall's. They made me look foolish.
Yeah.
So within that specific thing, it makes it a little bit more challenging for Marshall's to latch on.
Yep. So these two finalists, we're not even going to talk about the others right now, but there were some other fun ideas. But the two finalists, Lauren had Spotlight Ready, essentially was the line that it moved to. And the GlamBot, she did this very subtle thing, which I think no one would have noticed. Instead of 360-degree cameras, it was 365 ready, which is
for every day,
because it was everyday fashion and everyday value. Her pop-up had kind of an open rack system around the outside of it, and then you could get your photos shot on the inside of it. I don't even remember seeing people getting a 360-degree GlamBot. I think it was just slow-mo.
It wasn't the 360 because they weren't on like a podium.
Yeah.
The setup of the activation didn't really allow for that.
Yep.
But it was the similar style, and I think having the brand name of the official GlamBot being there was really cool. I think that's one thing that Lauren had above Mahari. Now we talked about, the PR, the activation after that. I think that Lauren's campaign is going to drive more user engagement after the fact because people are going to be sharing their own user-generated content, or UGC, which is such a rare and valuable thing that marketers love to be able to get.
Yeah.
And so I think Lauren had that above
Mahari's. I agree.
And it
I
was
could,
funner. It
it
was
was more
so
fun.
fun.
In fact, Piper, who was on Mahari's team doing the style closet, which was a large see-through closet that only one or two people could go in and use at a given time, which created lines and an issue. Piper herself said, Lauren's installation is more fun. I really want to go over there right now and swing my long hair. I believe she's Asian, and she has very long, straight black hair, and she could totally swing that for the GlamBot. But she didn't, out of respect for her team.
Yes, she's loyal.
Yep.
A brand loyalist, Team Mahari.
Yeah.
Brand loyalist.
And then here's where I think Mahari had an edge, which was he had that blue runway carpet, Marshall's blue, and then he had a couple of stage props or settings behind them that allowed for a great photo, and he did have good photographers.
Stunning photography
in style on a blue runway with a little strip of blue skylight above it, so you could see it wasn't just on some random step and repeat or some random photo studio, that it was outdoors. And that, I think, gave him an edge because the photography was then ready-made and perfect for Marshall's tastes to go into their billboards. And that was a big piece because more people, again, are going to see the billboards than they are going to actually engage with the pop-up.
I agree 100% overall. I was more excited by Lauren's idea. I thought it looked more fun. The GlamBot is so exciting and unique. Gives everyone that premium experience, but Mahari kept the client in mind, and the end product, the photos looked like they had been crafted for months by a Marshall's team.
Exactly. They fit the client.
They were so good.
They were good. They were good photos. I wonder if Mahari's experience, he's got 15 years in fashion. In fact, his backstory plays a big part of this episode. He lived in a homeless shelter when he first moved to New York to get into fashion. He said that he slung coffee at a shop right near where they were. So the fact that he's been in fashion for so long, I think, gave him an eye for the photography that was needed to make a nice photo shoot for a billboard. Whereas Lauren, again, made a great experience for people that would have been, again, a great activity or engagement across more Marshall's events, but didn't result in the photography that made for a great billboard. So I think that was a big piece of it.
I do think we were limited because the video recording screens can sometimes lower the quality of everything. So I'm wondering if it was the video. There was no comparison between what we saw, the quality of Mahari's images versus the GlamBot videos. And so I think it was just a camera recording a screen that caused the primary issue for us.
Although I do think
I'm not sure
the setting and the background were a part of it. Mahari's had clothes and racks behind the person posing as well, and again the light above and the blue carpet, the red carpet, blue carpet, the blue red carpet. All of those elements made for a great composition, and then someone just being really fun and having a great time. Whereas the composition for that GlamBot was a kind of classic step and repeat wallpaper that just had Marshall's logo, and that's it. It was just the Marshall's logo. You didn't get the feel for being, I mean, frankly, that's what makes some of those GlamBots kind of fun to watch. Those little snippets is because, and I forget what actress they showed. She did the Queen's Gambit, and she did the new Mad Max film. She's got 3 names, but you get to see people fling their hair, and then behind them, you see all the other celebrities in black ties and gowns, and it looks like they're at a gala. It doesn't look like they're standing in front of just a wall of logos. So I think the composition, and maybe, as you said, Laura, the quality of the image, but the composition as well was just not as good for Lauren's team.
I wonder how it would have turned out if they had racks of clothes or shelves with
Mm-hmm.
shoes and purses that you could interact with as part of the GlamBot. Like
True.
if the competition was different
True.
from composition was different from the step and repeat style,
Yep.
would that have been any different? I don't know.
Which I think, pulling in a little bit more brand science now, the notion of explore and then exploit is something
Mhm.
I implore clients to do a lot of, because first time out the gate, you're rarely right. You got to keep trying and tweaking and changing, because we thought Mahari's design when they were setting up was less exciting because it was enclosed. It created long lines because you could only have one person looking at stuff at a time. Lauren's felt more engaging because it was kind of a circle. The inside was where the camera was, but the outside was where all of the clothing was and all of the merchandise, which means people could just walk up and interact with it more freely. And so everyone was thinking, well, Lauren's is more interactive. And even Mahari said he loves the design of Lauren's, that it's open and inviting. But it turns
Mhm.
out that open and inviting outside created an inside for the camera that made for bad photos for the billboards. And then the exact opposite happened for Mahari. He had a very enclosed space with these see-through plexiglass walls, creating the walk-in closet, which meant
Yeah.
people on the outside couldn't interact. They could just look. But then when he did the photo shoot, it meant the photo itself had the great staging and setting of all of the clothing and all of the merchandising and all of the lavender shelving that he put in there as well. And so maybe you
Yeah.
would want to combine those things. You could actually see a walk-in
Mhm.
closet like Mahari's, but then you could do a traditional photo shoot where you've got a photographer like he did, or you could do a GlamBot in the closet. And so the
Okay.
360 would have the rest of the merchandise and the lavender shelves and all the other stuff around it. And it would make for a more interesting
Ooh.
GlamBot GIF or snippet or film or maybe even photo.
GIF.
GIF.
We can't get into it here. We can't get into it here. Yeah, I think what I'll say is that when I heard Mahari's first pitch,
Uh-huh.
you know, I was I'll admit I was skeptical
Yeah.
from
It
the
wasn't that
beginning
strong.
to until I saw the photographs, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And then when I paired that with really learning more about Marshall's brand and my braid research and understanding they're not huge risk takers, they have a specific aesthetic. That's when I realized he understood the client, I think, better than anyone. He
Yes.
understood what would appeal to them and kept that front and center. So even
Yeah.
though there were doubters, how do you beat a glam bot? It's so fun, it's so cool.
Yeah.
He really positioned the Marshalls brand exactly where they are comfortable being and they want to be in that space. And so I think that's what led to him being so successful.
Yeah.
That being said, my honorable mention of the week is Piper's merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Um,
That was a good
I
one.
thought that was fun. Her tagline was the joyride of a good find.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall's themed merry-go-round. You get to sit on a merry-go-round, look at all the clothes as it goes by, maybe pick something out. I think maybe the feasibility of transporting a
Yeah.
Marshall's themed merry-go-round overnight, maybe not really there. So I think that's probably what tripped her up, but it was so fun.
It was
It was
fun.
really joyful.
And the notion of a joyride when you go shopping, the excitement, the hunt. I know a lot of other folks have talked about this historically in other campaigns. I also wonder what kind of footage it would create.
Mm-hmm.
Just to this point, and not just footage, because clearly they were focused more on still images for a billboard than, like a viral online video story of what happened. So what would the billboard look like if you're trying to capture a part of or an entire merry-go-round with people wearing your clothes but riding on a pony or something? Maybe it would be a little jarring or weird. And again, not suited to the conservative nature of that client and that brand.
I kind of disagree a little bit because I think that when I think of footage that you would see in a Marshalls, a Ross, a TJ Maxx commercial, almost think of like stock photo or stock photography, videography plus. Right? They're not doing anything super interesting or crazy. It could feasibly be a premium stock video, but they're in Marshall's clothing.
Right.
And I could envision a stock videography of women on a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
That wouldn't feel out of place. Now, it wouldn't be the whole campaign. It wouldn't be the whole commercial, but it wouldn't feel out of place.
Sure. It's probably true. I mean, they could do it. They could make it work, but just the fact that they just want to showcase some clothes, showcase some people in some clothes, have incredibly conventional photography means that even a merry-go-round might not fit that narrow brief, or that narrow demand. And in fact, that was the final billboard we saw, was some very beautiful but fairly traditional, happy people wearing Marshall's clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, my question is, how much bright orange clothing does Marshalls offer to their consumer?
Not enough.
Never enough.
Then again, the fact that I get the only bright orange thing there occasionally means I continue to stand out.
Amazing.
You know, if everyone wears orange, then no one's special.
That's true. Don't worry.
To quote Syndrome,
I'll keep my black on.
Yes, I know you will.
All right, it's time for the one and only official Ethan Decker Award for Premium Stickiness of the Week, awarded to the campaign that we'll continue to think about until, at the very least, tomorrow. Maybe even the next day.
It will be Ryan's LaCharme's idea, because it is a little bait and switch and gotcha, and sometimes you feel like a fool. However, if you are a regular Marshalls shopper, and 45% of their shoppers are low-income people, actually it's more like 60%, are low-income households, maybe they do kind of like sticking it to fashionistas who can't tell the difference, and that they are getting a deal. It's a dicey stunt. It's a little risky. Therefore, I think it's outside of the Marshalls comfort zone, but it does make me, I love it because it plays on the notion that price itself establishes value, doesn't just express it. And that if you take the same damn clothes and put it in something called LaCharme's and charge $150 instead of $20 for it, people think that it's expensive. And yeah, you take that same stuff and you put it in a basic Marshalls store with basic fixturing and basic music and basic carts, then you would be shocked if it cost you $200 or $300 to buy something there. So yeah. That wins the Stickiness Award for the week.
Amazing.
Which brings us, I think, to our 2-minute pitch. Yes, Laura?
Yes. 2 minutes to win it, the part of the show where after the pitch is given, I pause the show and come up with my own proposal for this pitch. Now, I do have to say, this was my easiest so far, and one that I am quite excited about.
Let's have a look. Okay, here we go.
That's covering my face.
Yeah, I have to rearrange things.
Okay.
See if we can rearrange things properly. Oh, where did it go? There it is. Oh, now I have to rearrange and reorder.
You got this.
I got it. This is a fancy feature of this new recording. Okay. Now, I don't know how to layer things, so I'm just going to leave it as this. Let's go. What we're looking at is a mock-up of an activation. Is that correct?
Yes, this is my idea for the activation. Now, what is it that every woman who took a single breath during the 1990s, what do they want more than anything in their entire life? That's correct. Cher Horowitz's closet from Clueless.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Um,
That's exactly what I was about to say.
that I know that's what you were thinking. It's
Tip of
Cher
my tongue.
Horowitz's closets from Clueless. She goes in, she plays with the computer, she puts together an outfit. The computer says that's a match or that's not a match, and then it rotates and brings all the clothes out so that she has an outfit ready. That's what every single woman, man, being that ever saw Clueless, that was ever alive during the 90s, that's what they really want.
My
Um,
cat
we
loved
want
Clueless.
we want Cher Horowitz's closet. So this is a Marshall's branded activation based off
Got it.
of that similar concept. So you go up, there's a computer, preferably an older computer, where you can mix and match some outfits, some pieces from Marshall's, and then they come out on a rotating closet. Your outfit comes out, and then you can pick it up from the closet in the center. So we would have two podiums, one on each side. You can go in and really have that Cher Horowitz experience. We have the blue plaid or the blue tartan playing off of the yellow tartan from Clueless, but in Marshall's colors. The good stuff, like totally.
That's your line. The good
Yeah.
stuff, like totally.
The good stuff, like totally. 90s nostalgia is huge right now. I think it's very in the moment. And then I get to take home the closet mechanism for myself at the end of the activation so that I can have Cher's closet.
Okay. So you pitch yourself and then you pick yourself is what's going to happen here.
Listen, it's just an added bonus.
I know. You get to be competitor and judge at the same time. It's great. Here's what I think.
Like totally a good idea.
I think it's like totally a good idea. Maybe not for this brief this year, but did you know, oh my gosh, that Peacock is actually in development of a Clueless reboot for next year or the next year after? So like then this would be like the perfect pop-up and experience for it. I don't know why I'm gone totally Valley girl because I don't think Clueless was Valley, but sure, Alicia Silverstone I think might even be in the reboot.
Oh my
and
God.
Jimmy Fallon's thing is like for Peacock, so you're like totally on trend, but you're a little early. That's all. You're a little early.
Amazing.
But you can pitch this.
I'm a trendsetter with my Marshall's clothes.
So you should pitch this to the team that's rebooting Clueless.
Absolutely. And also, if you need casting, I did mention I was a theater kid, did I not?
Yeah, you might have mentioned that a little bit. You know who did the big Valley Girl thing was Jimmy Fallon himself on SNL. Do you remember? He did a skit. He was a Valley Girl. Ew, gross.
I really feel like you're not taking my pitch seriously, and that is messed up.
I am totally not. Like,
I'm a serious marketer.
The serious stuff, like totally. Okay. That was fantastic. Let's get back to normal sizing things here. I think that might cover it for episode 3 for On Brand with Jimmy Fallon for Cover Brand. We got some brand science in. We talked about some trends. We talked about the challenges of pitching and certainly the issues of trying to stand out and fit in, trying to be your brand when your brand is bland. And of course, how to do fashion. And it is lovely that Mahari had that great homecoming of having a good fashion moment. He was bawling like a baby there at the end. It really meant a lot to him. Piper, of course, was crying as well. She cried last time when BT went home. Wait a minute.
Nobody went home this week.
Nobody went home this week.
We almost wrapped it up without saying nobody went home. Very confusing, this elimination.
I think they are figuring out their own show. It's season 1. Explore and exploit. So they're exploring what makes for a good show. I think they were all too upset by sending BT home. And Jimmy, Mr. Nice Guy, he is the nicest guy on TV after all. He probably just didn't want to send someone home because he felt so bad last time. And also, they had too much content for a 1-hour show. Maybe it needs to be a 2-hour show, and then they can do all of those coming up next little snippets and pad the damn thing. But they can also show the elimination, which they didn't.
What's worse? Going home first or being the only person that goes home? They have to eliminate more people. So otherwise, true. That's horrible for BT.
Oh, yeah.
There have to be more eliminations.
Unless BT is that story where, again, they realized it was just too painful and too sad, and they never want to do that to anyone again. And BT's career takes off, kind of like the commentator for the BBC News in South Korea, the American guy who was reporting during COVID, and his little kids stormed his bedroom where he was being filmed live on air with BBC. Yes. And he thought his career was over because it was so embarrassing. His eyes were closed. He was dying inside. The guy from BBC is like, "Oh, sorry. It looks like someone's just joined you in your study." And that's my terrible BBC accent. And sure enough, and then his wife comes flying into the room to grab the babies and pull them out before, he already was dead inside. So it was too late for that. But he thought his career was over, and it catapulted him into the limelight. And everyone felt so relieved because they have that experience too all the time. The dogs interrupting, the baby interrupting, the mailman, the leaf blower. Stuff happens, shit happens, and you're just real because it's COVID and it's just real. So we all owe him a huge debt of gratitude. Maybe, that's my long way of saying maybe, BT is going to have that incredible blossoming from this painful experience as well. And we're going to all owe BT a debt of gratitude someday.
Listen, I believe BT has wonderful things in store for him. I still stand that being the only person eliminated is way more devastating than just being eliminated.
The last.
They have to eliminate someone else, at least one other person, because otherwise it's just...
Yeah.
It hurts too much.
Maybe someone will do a documentary called The Last Elimination. Yeah. All right. See you next time for Cover Brand Covers on Brand with Jimmy Fallon. We'll see what happens in episode 4.
Woohoo. See y'all next week. Bye.
That's it for this episode. If anything stuck with you from today's show, good. That's the point. Be simple, be sticky, and stay classy, San Diego. If today's conversation made you rethink something about your business, consider calling us to get more formal help for your brand or your team. I run workshops and strategy sessions to turn science into success. Cliché, that's cheesy. Learn more at appliedbrandscience.com.